Coming up on Be Kind, Let's Rewind.
Today we are covering the 1988 classic Beetlejuice.
I got something good for you. There's, of course, the illustrious Alec Baldwin.
You are worthless, Alec Baldwin!
Mr. Deeds, Winona Ryder.
I bet that tastes good. And Michael Keaton. It is the most charismatic, cartoonish, goofy, cracked out performance.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it!
He runs into the President of the United States, Joe Biden, outside the store.
Morning, Adam. You need a haircut for your vacation?
He's just sitting there mumbling. Goddamn hair down to his shoulders.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Cue music.
It's showtime.
Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Let's do it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Be Kind, Let's Rewind, the nostalgia podcast that no one asked for. Today we are covering the 1988 classic Beetlejuice. It doesn't seem that long ago,
Beetlejuice.
man.
Oh, I got something good for you.
Anxious. Me and Shadwick had the absolute pleasure of going to see Deadpool 3 last week, and it was fucking amazing.
It fucks.
Was it everything you guys thought it would be?
I swear to God.
And more.
I was looking at we stayed for the credits, in case there's something in there. And I just kept waiting for our writing credit because I was like, obviously we wrote this when we were drunk because
clearly
this was written for us.
We were responsible for this film. I wonder, we have to comment on it because it's always like a big topic. Like, will this save like the Marvel universe, et cetera, or was this just like a one-off? Like, what are y'all's opinions on this?
Was there like a Marvel savior or a Messiah?
Like, are you talking about Marvel Jesus? That's
like
what
Marvel
Deadpool
Jesus. Yeah,
has referred to himself throughout the entire movie.
It can't be. When I heard that the box office numbers, maybe you can put them in post or not. They're massive, evidently. So it in opening weekend,
it was the top rated R open of all time, and I think it was like
globally. I think. Yeah, so it was like
imagine
260 million domestic and 485 or something.
Yeah, man,
globally.
Holy! Imagine having a talented cast, crew, writing staff, etc. Imagine talent, dude. Imagine it. Could have been?
It's great. If you haven't seen it, go see Deadpool 3. If you like us, you will like that. We are not Deadpool 3, but I figure we're like 3 or 4 cousins removed. Like he does, like we'd see him out and be like, "Oh, I remember growing up in Deadpool's." He's like, those are the dudes that used to fuck each other." Like I'm not behind
the farmhouse.
Behind the farmhouse, we got like 3 teeth, but he's like, but they are related. So
I'd like to think we're the variant of the Deadpool when it comes to podcasts, right?
Yeah,
like a Deadpool variant to podcasts.
Except we're just not any good. So that'll lead us over to
You're not any good.
Street,
You fucking bum!
Get out of the street, you fucking bum. So this week I went to Green Man, which if you're not gonna be able to see it because it's a green screen, I just realized that. So anyway, Green Man, actually a brewery out there in Asheville, North Carolina, which me and Leaf have been there a few times. Awesome little town out there. This one is the
incredible place.
Nerd Nectar Hazy IPA. Still working on that brain function. So remember, drink your IPAs, and they'll help fix Alzheimer's. Especially if you drink more of them, I think.
That's what the science says. Don't question the science.
It will wreck your taste buds, so.
Maybe you were behind the barn with us. Shadowk, what are you drinking this week?
Because it's so goddamn hot outside,
dude,
I have gone with the summer shandy.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. That's a solid delicioso beer.
Shadowk's had a few shandies.
What of it?
I went to the Cothalo.
Oh, good. That's near Costco. And I want to get some hummus.
Spinal.
But no, they had cases there in cans. Usually, it's kind of hard to find the summer shandy in cans. So I went ahead and bought a couple cases.
Nice, dude.
It's delicious.
I mean, we're in Georgia. It's going to be hot for a while.
Yeah, it's cost savvy, man.
For a while.
Leaf, what do you got down there after you had several battery issues and whatever the hell else almost prevented you from being here today?
Dude, like you said, it's been extremely, extremely hot, man. Like my car battery died. We had to get it replaced. How does a car battery go from usable to not even chargeable?
I'll show you 2 weeks ago when I was stuck in front of an AutoZone. I was getting in the zone, and it happened to me too. So yeah,
it's going around. It happened with my wife's car a couple weeks ago, and maybe just a couple of months ago, the Jeep had the same thing.
Is this just COVID for cars? Is that what's happening? Is there going to be a car vaccine coming out?
No,
please.
Yeah, it's big auto. They're trying to force us to electric cars.
It is. And cheers to big auto, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I like to call. Look here. The actual Beetlejuice cocktail.
Wow.
My wife made this for me. Look at the little skull this represents me. Look at that.
No, he's lying. He's covering his mouth. He's lying.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, that's a professional right there. Leaf putting the white piece of paper behind a green drink.
Why couldn't it be a black piece of paper?
And so anyway, that's going to lead us over to our topic this week. It's going to be Beetlejuice from 1988.
It's showtime.
Guys, where do you remember seeing this? And I'm going to start off because this was in prime Chris Puss Puss era. So I was terrified of this movie. They had a special on MTV showing all the behind the scenes shit, which is the only reason I saw it, because it removed enough of the realism away from it when I saw how the puppets and the things were made, like where I was like, I could now go see it because it wasn't real to me anymore. Again, this is from the same guy that large marged me in like fucking 86 or 85. So like,
you were a kid though. Like you were,
where's my bag?
Dude, you were a kid though. In your defense, man, it quite literally, like if you watch the movie, there's nothing like that out nowadays. There's name it. We're gonna talk about that as far as the rating is concerned shortly. But like, dude, the movie actually was pretty frightening. There's a lot of wild scenes, gruesome scenes, some F-bombs, some adult pantomiming and language.
Yeah. So Chris mentioned this off air. So this is a rating of PG. Right?
Yeah, which I wonder if what we have now is different from what was in the theaters.
It must be, because I know
there's
now,
a fuck.
Yeah, but now a PG-13 gets you one fuck.
Right. So it could have been different back then.
And no tits.
I mean, have we learned nothing from Matt Stone and Trey Parker, creators of South Park, that the rating system is simply absolutely and completely arbitrary? And I think this is proof of that. I think you guys are right. They've standardized it a little bit more now going forward. But I mean, in the 80s and early 90s, it was sort of a lawless time in movies.
Yeah,
it was
I
like,
think so. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you think about the John Hughes movies, was it 16 Candles? I think that was also PG, and that definitely showed some bazungas in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did.
Yeah, 100%. And that just goes to show you how ridiculous a rating is in the first place, because culture's constantly evolving and changing. We ebb and flow from one extreme to the other, from extreme conservatism to extreme like liberalism in our entertainment. And for you to say, well, this isn't acceptable for kids to watch today, it's not going to be the same in 10 years, 20 years, especially 30 years. Like some of the movies we review and talk about are 30, 40 years old.
To the Trey Parker and Matt Stone credit, I believe it was South Park, the movie. They submitted it. They said it was going to be like an NC-17 rating or something like that. They were trying to get it. No, they're trying to get it to PG, and they were like, this is almost NC-17. And so they added everything they could add to it, like all the language. They made it even worse and sent it back to the MPA, and they're like, okay, it's an R. Like, because they just didn't want to watch it again. They were just like, all right, yeah, you got an R rating now.
So, so did they add in the sounds of Saddam Hussein butt fucking the devil?
I mean, probably, you know. Hey, Satan. Like, little dicks coming up. Like, so where do you guys like? I remember seeing this watered down on TV first, so that was my long way around of saying like I didn't watch it in theaters.
I don't know if you guys realize or not, but this director and this actor they worked together again in the next year.
Yeah,
with a little movie,
a little known film.
Yeah. So I definitely saw Batman 89 first. That was my introduction to Michael Keaton and Tim Burton. So it was probably shortly after that. This came out 88. Batman came out 89. I'm assuming probably later in 89, maybe 90 is when I saw it. Again, probably I saw this on TV first, I imagine, because I don't think I liked it very much the first time I saw it.
I was the same. Like,
and again, I was 9 or 10, so
yeah,
it wasn't made for me. You know, it's got some mature humor in it that I wouldn't have gotten back then.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, but love it now.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you grow into it. Leaf, same with you. Were you a TV or did you actually see it in theaters?
Unfortunately, I was the middleman. Shout out to my friend Trey. We actually watched this. My background is I had he might dispute this, but I would say he was a above average income earner. His family was, right. Yeah. And they had the swimming pool. They had a den of, and I mentioned it again, like I said before, they had a den of like just amazing collection of films. I'm 100% positive I watched this there along with the various other movies that were probably too far above my pay grade at that age. And
you said Trey?
Yeah, Trey. Yeah, his name is
Trey. Did he ever show you the video collection that his parents kept in their room?
Trust me.
I would say 100% that man's dad had quite the collection of those. Just looking back and knowing what I know now, that dude. Shout out. If he did, then we never delved into it. Yeah, that shit under lock and key. As soon as his wife went away, he was like,
"Yo." It was years later until I met a family who was more loose with their collection, and I was able to imbibe in that. But indeed, it was. That's where I saw it, and I remember like feeling as if it was like a naughty pleasure, right? Like I was like, definitely, it's not something my conservative parents would have allowed me to watch. Like 100%, right? Like
it has these weird undertone. Like me and Shadow were texting earlier today. The style he directs in, like it's got this vibe to it.
Well, it's weird because most of his movies have a dark tone to it, but then he has all these like pops of like saturated color.
Yeah.
So it's like it kind of like takes the darkness out of it because it kind of makes it cartoonish.
Yeah.
It does.
And
it
does. Makes sense too because he was like an animator, I think, at like Disney or something before he was director.
Yeah.
Tim Burton, obviously, who we're talking about.
Yeah, let's actually go into that if y'all don't mind. Yeah, let's facts. You brought up the director. Let's talk about it, man. Beetlejuice is a 1988 American fantasy comedy horror film. I think that actually describes it pretty aptly. Directed by Tim Burton. of course, of Batman fame and many Edward Scissorhands, many other American film classics of that age. The screenplay was by Michael McDowell and Warren Scarron, based on a story by McDowell and Larry Wilson.
I did actually get a little background on McDowell shopping this around. This was a much darker piece that
please
he wrote.
cut in McDowell's from fucking
Yeah, I will.
They got the golden arches. Mine is the golden arcs.
Yeah. So McDowell wanted, there was like apparently 2 sisters in this. There was
Lisa,
a gruesome death scene for the people that died, like the family. It was like a straight up horror movie. And then
what's more gruesome than a dog murdering you?
Well, I mean,
so that was the screenplay before they chose in the actors, right? Because
right.
I feel
So
like
this
that
is like this would, so it shopped around for a while. No one wanted it, and then finally, I think Burton saw it and saw what he could do with it, or the studio, I think, bought it, but they didn't want to make it. There was a lot of those apparently back then where they would buy stuff and they would just bury it.
I mean, it probably had something to do with whether they thought a film would perform well or not. Sort of like right now, whether if you're not making like a superhero film, or something along those veins, like you ain't getting your film made. Like probably, people arbitrarily decide the media we get to see, the ones in charge. So,
well, I mean, when we talked with Michael Keaton several weeks back, he talked about all the projects that he had presented and had.
Oh yeah, they got picked up.
Well, a lot of them had been greenlit.
Yep, and
then they go into like production hell.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
It just pissed money away in Hollywood.
We
out here struggling to fucking get a cheese sandwich, and then these dudes are just pissing away like hundreds of millions of dollars. And they're like, no, we're one of you.
There's $100 million, like, is it a Catwoman or a Batwoman film that's like was fully made? Yeah. And it's got Brandon Fraser is in it. Batgirl. That's it. And it's the thing is just memory hold. The thing is done. It's complete. And they're like, nope. We're just.
And he didn't really. I don't think he really answered that question because I asked him about that. Like, you think it was just unwatchable?
Yeah, you're talking about Uslan, right?
How do you get all the way down to like where the movie's cut? Just knowing now, like I by no means am a Hollywood editor. But what I've been able to cut around with us just talking, like when I edit, like I can clean stuff up. I can make you say stuff that you didn't say if I really wanted to.
Yes.
Like, so they have multiple angles, multiple soundtracks, multiple scenes that could be cut, multiple scenes that could be manipulated, and you still couldn't come up with like a passable product. Like,
dude,
that's wild.
That is actually true. And I think the same thing, too. And then also compounded with that is the idea that don't you want to make some money of what you, even if it's a gigantic flop, don't you want to recoup some of what you paid?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Also, too, like if it does suck, I do understand because advertising, as we're starting to run into, can be very pricey. So stay tuned for our Patreon and support us for that.
You guys both worked at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Do the studios pay the theaters to play their movies?
The way it works is it's like, so say for instance, normally it would be like a 5% split. So it'd be like the studio gets 95% of opening week grosses. This is back in the day. I'm sure it's all changed. Then 5% would go to the theater. Thus, the theaters made their money off concessions.
Yeah.
So week 2, it would go down to say 90, 10, then it'd be 85, 10, whatever. And so like the longer it's out, the more the theater will make off the actual ticket sales. But that's the way the contracts kind of worked back then. But that's all handled by corporate. Corporate says, hey, we want this many screens for this movie or whatever. But what I was going to say, though, is like advertisement. So if a movie sucks and you think it's going to bomb, I mean, you don't want to go sink $100 million into advertising.
Hell no.
In theory, you just saved $100 million if it was going to be a flop. So I guess I get it in that sense or whatever, but still, like maybe halfway through the movie or in the beginning of the movie or in the script, be like, no, this sucks. Like, can it? Like, we're done.
Can it, Janet? Well, please don't make me leave.
This sucks.
But to Beetlejuice, the cast. Let's talk about the cast for a second. I know y'all are going to really enjoy this. There's, of course, the illustrious Alec Baldwin, not a murderer, believe it or not, according to
You are worthless, Alec Baldwin!
according to
what I actually noticed that we watched it last night. I try to watch every time we're going to cover something. I try to watch it the night before, so it's fresh. And he was like, that opening scene. I think they're in the house, right? And he's like standing over his model, and Geena Davis, which we haven't gotten to her yet, plays his wife. She's like, "Why did you build so many shooting ranges?"
I did not notice that. Are you serious?
No, you didn't notice that?
No.
No.
But yes, Geena Davis also as Alec Baldwin's wife. Dude, I don't know what it is. She does it for me in this film, dude.
Dude, she's peak Geena Davis, I think.
She's so hot, man.
Yeah.
And I know she's wearing the freaking Little House on the Prairie dress or whatever it is the whole time. And I'm
I do
still with it.
I do hate that dress. But
it's horrible.
Yeah, I think she always had those like kind of a pouty face. Like
it's her face.
Yeah.
Gosh, she's so cute, man.
Man, all the way back to she was in Fletch. She was in the Long Kiss Goodnight with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, such a good film. Yeah, dude.
We're talking about prison. He's like, and I'm not going back.
Just amazing. We also got Jeffrey Jones, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, and Michael Keaton, the unabashed absolute star of the film. He's not even in the majority of it. If you've watched, that's one thing that really stood out to me when I watched the film again. I was like, dude, he's not even in it that much.
That is something that I found doing a deep dive on this. Keaton filmed his shit in 2 weeks.
No way.
Almost
for the film.
And he is only in the movie. I didn't time it or anything, but per everything I read, he is in the movie for 17 minutes.
Wow.
That's real. That's real.
The sequel is coming out in a couple months.
Which we will do a Beetlejuice versus Beetlejuice. It's going to be great.
And apparently he had some stipulations to return to that character. One of them was he wanted limited screen time.
Oh, really?
I guess maybe to go along with that. And he also wanted to do practical special effects.
That's good.
So I don't know if we're going to get more of the claymation, stop motion type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, maybe he doesn't particularly like the special effects method that Tim Burton uses in his more recent movies.
Yeah. I also found out that Batman, the Tim Burton, the marriage here of these two almost didn't happen. Michael Keaton took an interview with, or took like a meeting with him for this movie, didn't really understand what he was saying, like didn't get the vision of it, and was just like, yeah, he's a nice enough guy, but I just don't think it's going to work out. You know, it's not something I'm interested in. Got a second meeting, still was like, yeah, he's a nice guy, I just don't get it. And then they had a third meeting, and the third meeting, the idea of this was finally conveyed to where he was like, okay, so like if he doesn't do this, he doesn't do Batman. You know, like that's like that. We don't get. It's just weird that like that third meeting doesn't happen. Our universe is way different.
Completely
Maybe someone
different.
should do a Marvel thing about it. That'd be awesome.
Idiot. Idiot.
It's my new Dwight ring.
I like it.
Good, right?
Idiot.
My point, my conspiracy theory about that is that, and like I think I'm correct. I feel like he wanted limited screen time in this next film because Beetlejuice is such an exuberant, charismatic character that you need him in small doses.
Yeah,
otherwise, it becomes too overwhelming and too cartoonish. And I honestly 100% believe Michael Keaton understands that. I think he's not only a talented actor, he understands why this movie works so well. And when you see, we're going to talk about it. When he appears on screen, he just takes over.
Oh yeah,
like absolutely dominates.
I don't think there's very many actors that could have done this role as well as him. Maybe Robert Downey Jr. Maybe, but you have to have that like fast speech.
Yeah,
it's something I don't have for sure.
And to have like to understand like what this character is, which actually I think he. Another thing I found out is he drew inspiration from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, Bill Moseley's character Chop Top.
You're my fave, but I get too embarrassed to phone in my request. It's too disembodied, you know?
You can see it, like when that dude talks, like the cadence, the voice almost. It's kind of like Heath Ledger pulled from Tom Waits, like for the Joker. Like he pulled from that, and he pulled from that cadence.
Christ.
So he pulled from that character, which when you go back and look at it, you can be like, oh shit, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he made it his own, obviously, but like that's where he pulled some inspiration for this wacky character.
That's so unbelievable, man. Like it was such
have you ever seen his stand up, Michael Keaton?
Mm-mm.
I have seen a lot of it actually in clips.
He's always like has super high energy, but he's really articulate, and I think he must be really smart too.
If you've seen him in other films, you'll see that kind of exuberance and energy. That's why he was like
Michael Keaton was not the first pick for this role.
Really?
Sammy Davis Jr. was who Tim Burton wanted in this role out of the gate.
I just want to
lie.
I just want to call out our friend Ronnie. This man is not as much of a genius as you want to give him credit for. That's all I got. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. It's real. He's made some mistakes, some actual and Sammy Dave.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. That was a mistake.
that wasn't even him though. That was him in name. Some other people did that. Also, not a fan of that movie. Just gonna say. All right, man. So Sammy Davis Jr. from the old Rat Pack was which I guess I could see like if you've ever seen any old Sammy Davis, like the vibe of him and how he was like cool and
my
sleazy.
Only question is like, yeah, I get it. But what did Sammy Davis Jr. look like in 1988? Like,
Sammy Davis was pretty old then too, and that was why Sammy passed on it. He was like, "No,
yeah."
But he's like, he seems like a cool cat. I'm just not gonna do it.
But he's
like, it's an awful Sammy Davis.
He's not an actor. He's not an actor, right,
babe?
Tim Burton is stupid as far as this is concerned. I love him. I think he's a genius, but like at the same time, that's a stupid thing to like suggest or consider. It's like, dude, you're artistic. Like, hopefully someone was like, no, this is a dumb.
Sammy Davis was like, no, but then he got Keaton, so that's fine, man. So
it worked out.
Let's move on.
You can't be Frank. If anybody, you have to be Sammy.
Why I gotta be Sammy?
The final fact I have: Beetlejuice was released. Beetlejuice was released in the United States on March 30th, 1988 by Warner Brothers. The film was a critical and commercial success. So a lot of people that watch this might think this was one of the old classic underdogs. No, it was massive.
Which is also odd too that this one like was such a success, but then the sequel never followed up on it.
Yes,
usually they were whores for that. Like as soon as like something was successful, you're getting a part 2, no matter what.
Instantly, and maybe that had something to do with the Tim Burton. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean
that is where I'll say like Burton of obviously no one's perfect, but Burton sticks to his guns.
He does,
and I respect him for that for sure. With everything he did with Batman, and when it got to hey, let's sell some toys, he was like,
I'm out. Right. Like he is the consummate artist, or at least he was back then for sure. But the film did gross $74.7 million on a $15 million budget back in 1988. Do the math on that. It won an Academy Award for Best Makeup and a trio of Saturn Awards, whatever the hell that is. Best Horror Film, Best Makeup, and Best Supporting Actress for Sylvia Sidney, who we'll talk about. Trust me, we're going to talk about that. Back then, the film's success spawned an animated television series, which I remember.
Yes, which I would remember more than the actual movie itself, because this was prime time after school. I can hear the theme song in my head.
Yes,
yeah, I can, but I cannot remember watching the cartoon.
I watched it every effing.
I watched the absolute shit out of that cartoon.
I told you guys before. I'm an art whore, Like I just didn't care for the way it was drawn.
Yeah. The animation style was especially for that time when you had
not
things
even
like
close to the movie. Like everything about that cartoon, which I loved, just because also it was a cartoon, shiny objects on screen, and it was really comedy dumbed down. Like there was Beetlejuice and Lydia were like best friends, and
he was a good person.
Yeah,
which in the movie he is absolutely not. That is literally the point. In an area where you had cartoons like X-Men, which Chadwick has his own problems with. That you have to admit that the Beetlejuice style of animation it actually sort of harkens to modern animation, which I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, like what you see on Cartoon Network, like Teen Titans or something like that. Like,
yeah, it's kind of
the
just
color scheme
janky and not good. Yeah, and I don't
amateurs.
We'll talk about it later, but Chris is right. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to go into the actual movie. Are you gentlemen ready? This movie was insanely awesome. The film starts with, of course, an aerial view of a quaint, picturesque New England town, but then you immediately realize it as it transitions into an actual, it's just a model like of the town, which is cool. I thought it was really cool because you see a lot of films do that. Like you have these sweeping shots and it's just a model, but that's the point because you realize it's supposed to be a model, and you have a spider, like a creepy spider crawling like over the house. Yeah, Maitland's house.
They did that in the last Jackass movie, I believe. They had a.
Did they really?
Yeah, it was over somebody's ball sack, I believe, or butthole. But yes. Actually, it was his dick. I think that.
Yeah, it was Chris Pontius. I think
Chris Pontius' dick was a monster, like attacking a city or something.
They had his dick painted up like Godzilla, and they had little puppeteers, like
geniuses. Geniuses, right? Comedic geniuses.
Podcast, Johnny Knoxville.
Maitland's, the Maitland's house. Of course, let's talk about the Maitlands. Adam, played by Alec Baldwin.
You are worthless, Alec
Baldwin.
Barbara Maitland, played by the sexy, still amazing, wonderful Geena Davis, are this happily married couple living in a large, picturesque small town in this rustic house. And
sweet ass house.
Dude, this house is insane. What is it? 3 stories or 2 stories with a third attic level? It's beautiful, dude. It's awesome. It's amazing. They're on vacation. They've taken time away from their jobs to spend time renovating their home, and that is sort of the setup to the accident. So they take a trip to the town shortly after. Adam and his wife Barbara, they're driving in to get supplies, and he runs into this old man.
He runs into the president of the United States, Joe Biden, outside the store.
Morning, Adam. You need a haircut for your vacation?
Yeah, he's just sitting there mumbling. Goddamn hair down to his shoulders.
You know, the best part is like he walks in, the dude's talking, and he comes back. Classic Biden, still talking, doesn't realize what's happened, and then he's on his way. So
never notices he's gone, and like Adam, Alec Baldwin's character is just knows, just ignores him. He's just used to it. So he's just sitting on the front porch.
And Alec Baldwin's like, if we ever have a president like that, I'm going to make fun of the other guy.
I thought his Trump impression was pretty decent. In all honesty, it wasn't common. He does. He absolutely does. And so on their way back from their trip to town to get supplies to repair the house and do things with the house, they're summarily murdered by this dog.
Well, they swerved to miss the dog, and then the dog's the only thing keeping him on. And as a good boy should, he was like, I know this plot needs to be pushed forward, so I'm going to step off this plank and let them die.
They kind of died comedically.
And plus, I've got some buttholes to sniff.
Yeah. He's a busy dog.
Yeah.
So they do kind of die in a comedic fashion, which sets the tone for the movie because it's serious, right? Like they're about to crash and die off a bridge, and the only thing holding the car, like Chris said, is the dog. And then the dog leaves, and then like they crash into the water.
And they kind of do the old bait and switch too, because like it shows them crash into the water, but it's not like a huge drop or anything.
Accident.
So and then it cuts directly into them, like they're walking in the house and they're wet from being in the water and everything, and they don't realize they're dead either.
No,
right. Well, and I think that's perfect because as a watcher, if you're as a viewer, you kind of don't realize that they're dead either. You're just kind of like, okay, so they crashed and now they're back at the house. They're soaking wet. Why? You know what I mean? Like why? Yeah, like why didn't they get help? Like I guess they just crashed and crawled out of the car. You can easily assume, especially if you're a young kid watching this, which we all were, that they were fine, that they were okay. Not everything was as it seems. You quickly discover that something is off. They have no reflections.
Yeah.
They can't leave the house.
They can't leave the house, although Alec Baldwin does try. What happens? Like
he's in the desert with the sandworms, which were massive in the cartoon. Like they were everywhere in the cartoon. They have their purpose in this, but it's not a whole lot.
It's like with sandworms in Dune. They ride their backs.
It's all I mean, basically, like it's very, very similar. And this brings up a good point I want to talk to y'all about real quickly is the sort of rules and the continuity when it comes to this universe. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like so obviously you find out that the couple is dead. They can't leave the house. And if they do, they're teleported to this other realm where you know,
eaten alive by puppet sandworms,
by claymation.
But also
this Salvador Dali desert.
Why? Like they were killed outside. They weren't killed in the house, but they're bound to the house. So I get you. There's some,
it makes perfect sense when you're a kid. 'Cause you don't question things. But I'm like, but now that I'm an adult, or it wasn't even long after as a teenager, I'm like, wait a minute, like they're already dead. Why are they scared of getting?
I'm like, this is not how ghosts work.
No. When you die, like your spirit or your unique energy or whatever, I think it leaves your body, and much like poop. When you die, poop leaves the body.
Poop leaves the body.
Make no mistake, gentlemen. When you die, poop leaves your butt.
Yeah, your spirit or whatever. I think it looks for some kind of familiarity. So that's why they go back to the house.
Okay,
right.
All right.
Okay. I mean that.
I'd buy that for $1.
So they're back, and there's all these weird rules there's all these rules which you're starting to learn as the film progresses, and you should sort of take a lot of this like with a grain of salt. They are ghosts.
There's a handbook that they really just don't read. The handbook for the recently deceased.
They try.
Well, you can't. It reads like stereo instructions.
I know, which I understand. So I'd be great as a dead person.
No, not me,
dude.
I'd be like,
not me either.
Chris, will you hurry and die so you can help me out here?
Help me out here.
So you can please teach me.
I mean, with all these rules and restrictions, it actually kind of leads me over to shit stuck in my head this week.
You know, Antoine's got a bad temper. Remember once I dropped a cigar ash on his rug? He made me pick it up with my anus.
Goddamn, white boy.
That's been stuck in my head. So, anyway, continue on. So now,
does Julie do that to you? Like,
if I cigar ash on the carpet, I'm in trouble.
It's over, bro. I love that fucking movie.
I find one more pistachio on this rug.
So you're right. They realized very quickly that they indeed are dead. There is randomly a handbook conveniently placed when you die that gives you the instructions for being dead, even though that the Maitlands are too stupid to understand it and or read it. In fact, they spend a lot of the time just sort of running around doing nothing. And of course, we get to my new favorite scene. This is I honestly don't remember what my favorite scene was before this, but the scene where you capture a clip of Beetlejuice like reading a newspaper, the Afterlife Times or whatever it is, and he's just like,
damn sandworm was 13%. Well, I better find a job.
Already talking shit.
Yeah, dude.
Immediately he finds out that the Maitlands are dead, and he's like, they look really stupid. You know, like
careful, good, stupid.
Yeah,
yeah, dude, and they are stupid, and he's immediately going to scam them, and like it's already set up. Like you don't know who he is or what he is, but he's like, these two people are dead.
Keep in
They're
mind,
fresh.
This is Batman. This man was Batman, arguably the best Batman, and can pull this off. Like, when is Michael Keaton going to get his flowers of being the greatest actor of all time?
He probably won't until he passes away.
Really?
Like that's.
And then you look at. I know it's not a great acting achievement, but Mr. Mom was great.
Yeah, I mean, he can do comedy. He can
Pacific Heights. Did you guys ever see Pacific Heights? Where he was a villain.
No.
Yeah, he was a villain, great villain.
I saw the other guys.
Do me a favor, don't go chasing waterfalls. Was that accidental, or were you trying to quote TLC on purpose?
Is that a TLC reference? I don't understand.
What about Multiplicity or whatever? That was a really good film, man.
Dude,
she touched my peppy, Steve.
I'm just saying, Michael Keaton. Sorry to sidetrack, but
yeah, we're gonna glaze him every chance we get. So they do get the Maitlands begin to understand that they're dead, obviously, and explore the new ghostly experience. They attempt to read their confusing handbook. Honestly, they're too stupid to get it, and then
like a stereo setup, you know,
and it does. It really does. And then we get a big major plot point. The New York liberals, the Dietz family, moving in, ladies and gentlemen, to the unoccupied, or should I say, haunted house, previously occupied.
Dude, good old Jeffrey Jones from Ferris Bueller. Dude. Great job in that movie. And Catherine O'Hara, who is still killing it. If you haven't seen Schitt's Creek, she is amazing in Schitt's Creek.
So I mentioned this last night.
SCTV alumni.
To my wife. I go back and forth with Catherine O'Hara. Is she pretty or not?
She is, but we always viewed her as Kevin's mom. Probably.
I know why. I know what it is. You want me to tell you what it is? I know what it is.
Yep. What is it?
She's beautiful, but her facial expressions ruin it because she's able to animate her face where you just want to put one right in her suck hole. Like
I don't know what it is about your face.
But if you don't change your face, I'm going to change it for you.
She needs to change it. We're going to change it for her. She actually has this. She has the ability. She's such a good actress to morph her face into the biggest bitch you've ever seen.
And again, like she's been such a good actress. This was 88.
Yes.
Like Schitt's Creek came out like in like 2015, 2018, somewhere in there. Still doing it. Still killing it, man.
Legendary actress, dude. Incredible.
Shout out
incredible.
Catherine O'Hara.
So shout out. So the
podcast.
Catherine O'Hara specifically, give us money.
Give us money. It's my job podcast.
So the Dietz family buys this house, previously occupied, now haunted, and they begin to move in. And immediately, for those of you who are initiated, you get this Green Acres kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
The patriarch Charles Dietz, played by Jeffrey Jones, is a New York realtor or real estate mogul, what have you, and he's basically sort of had, for all intents and purposes, a mental breakdown. He needs to get away, escape the big city, so he purchases this place to kind of escape and get away and get out into the wilderness and just relax, right? And he's accompanied by his stuffy ass wife Delia, played by Catherine O'Hara, who's just on her villain arc and will also later go on to abandon her son Kevin to two criminals in another film later on.
Kevin!
Twice.
Twice, actually. She hates the house. She hates the small town. She immediately wants renovations.
She hates that too.
She hates kids.
Yeah.
She hates kids. In fact, yeah, exactly. And then finally, the last, the Dietz family, the gothic, emo, ultimately depressed daughter, Lydia, played by a very young Winona Ryder.
She's super young, but I'll tell you right now, Mr. Deeds, Winona Ryder.
I bet that tastes good.
I'm just saying. That is peak Winona for me. I had such a crush on her. So bad, dude.
She's
like,
still so hot, in my opinion.
She is.
That first scene she comes in and she's got that giant hat on.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
last night, Chrissy's like, "Why is she wearing that stupid hat?" I'm like, "Well, she is herself strange and unusual."
She is, dude.
And then my wife got a headache from rolling her eyes so hard.
Yeah. She's actually in the ER. We hope she gets better.
Yeah, she'll recover. So the scene that always makes me laugh is when Winona Ryder's wearing the fucking death shroud or the veil at like dinner. Like, dude, it's quintessential. Like, so for those of you who thought you invented the emo and dark depressiveness, go back to 1988, baby.
Yeah.
Like, she was it, man. The representation, and they actually carry that into the cartoon. She's just very dreary and depressed. Goth, yeah, just one of the originals depictions of, I feel like, goth culture and sort of the estranged from your parents or your step parents feeling. This is, to me, was one of the first.
Because this is her stepmom, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. She does mention her estrangement from her. Catherine O'Hara is just an absolute monster. Like, and it's just terrible. Bitch. Right after that, we get Delia again, the wife of Charles Dietz, and her eccentric, effeminate artist friend Otho, played by Glenn Shaddix, which is just excellent. This guy is amazing.
Otho, he's like her interior designer and
family friend.
He's a real effeminate.
He's an art guy, man.
He's art, man. He knows all about art and interior design. And I immediately get the feeling he's just scamming her.
He's a like consummate bullshitter. Like he can do exorcisms. He can do.
Yeah, I was going to say he's basically a palm reader.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Yeah. And everybody knows somebody just like that. We're not going to name names. You know who it is.
But his psychic powers don't really work because he only has 2 nipples.
Third nipple, man.
Works every time.
So they start to renovate the house, and of course, this is a major plot point because the original family, Adam and Barbara, are very displeased with this. Mm-hmm. They're ghosts stuck in this house. They can't leave, or they'll be eaten by sandworms. So when the renovations
how ironic that Alec Baldwin is furious with liberals being in his house. Oh God, I'm going to take that out.
No, leave it in. Leave it in. It's funny, dude. This show's funny.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'll cut my arm.
The Maitlands are sick and tired of the renovations and these intruders being in their home, and they decide to scare the Dietz family away with a bunch of goofy ass tricks. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, nobody can see them. They're fresh ghosts. They don't know what's going on. They're not good at this. I mean, it's just
There's
awful.
Only one problem. They're not any good.
They suck, dude. And I'm going to go into more of that sooner or later. So what happens is they suck at this. Nobody can see them except for Lydia. She catches a glimpse of them out, and we assume that it's because she's such a weirdo herself, depressed, that she can she has that connection with the dead, which is, in my opinion, it's kind of a roast to the weirdos of the world, because all the weird people that are like dressed like Lydia, act like her, a lot of them have an infinity for
they do, but like, I mean, the director's one of these people, it's he's not really poking fun. I mean, there's people that still are a lot of people like this, like. No, some of these are our friends and family and things. So like nothing wrong with it. It's just different strokes for different folks.
Was Delia Lydia's mom or stepmom?
That's what Chris said.
That's what I always thought too. Stepmom.
Yeah, I think it's her stepmother.
She says it because they say something. She says she's not my mom.
Yeah,
like so.
So when Alec Baldwin and Hot Piece Davis are. They got the sheets on and they're making those all those noises. Like Lydia hears it through the wall and she's like,
"Cut it out, child, for God's sakes!"
Yeah,
dude. Also, they do the old double switch on that too when they're trying to like we talked about like earlier where you think they're alive when they go back to the house. Same thing. You're like, oh shit, so these people can see them now. And like he's scared when he opens the door and sees them in the sheets or whatever, and he's just like thinks it's Lydia, and he's like, Your mom's gonna, she's gonna be so mad when you cut holes in her $300 sheets.
Yeah.
And it cuts to them. They're in the bedroom where Delia is asleep, and they're making all those noises, trying to like scare her.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we find out that she's sleeping with Prince Valium.
Anyway, you can't scare her. She's sleeping with Prince Valium tonight.
Which is a great fucking line.
Yeah,
that one got me out. That one got me out loud.
But she's laying there like she's asleep, and they're making that noise, and then she just like sits up like abruptly with the remote in her hand, like it's the TV making the noise.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys notice what was on the television in the background? Because I'll tell you what was on the television in the background.
But I don't recognize the match. But
it was fucking wrestling, and there was an iron claw being applied early on, and if I'm not mistaken, it was a Bruno Sammartino save at the end of that. So book it, boys.
Wrestling nerds unite. There's no way that's true. I want in the comments. Is that one real? I gotta know.
I bet that pussy dried up.
so as Shamik mentioned, and Chris, the Maitlands suck at being ghosts. They just absolutely suck. And so
they suck at being dead. That sucks.
Yeah, they suck at being dead. They can't read.
Sucks at Deets nuts.
Dude. There's a shirt.
Got him, dude.
We also need a hot piece shirt.
So, out of ideas of how to scare away the Dietz family, the Maitlands draw a door and find themselves in the afterlife waiting room, I guess you could call it. And I know y'all have a lot to talk about, because this is where like Tim Burton's all over this movie.
Dude, this is where the majority of that MTV behind the scenes covered was like everybody's like costumes and like how it was made. And
and everybody's dead. For those of you who haven't seen the film, I don't know why you're waiting, go watch it. But
and
they're all dead.
You do slowly start to realize that the everyone that works. This is basically like the DMV, right? Like it's what it is. Like it's so like your punishment, I guess, for taking your own life is you have to work at the DMV for a certain amount of time, if not eternity.
And actually, one of the Dietz, the Daddy Dietz actually says that. He was like, I heard if you take your own life, you end up having to like work in as a civil servant. And they're all laughing. And it's true. We've seen it. It makes it even funnier, dude. Like, and so I'm not, and this is again, it brings up the point, the point that I made earlier, that you have a situation where you're not really sure about what the lore is, but the scene is so well done that you just don't even notice it. Like clearly everyone there is dead. There's a bunch of unaliving jokes and death puns, because this is the essence. When people say it's a dark comedy, to me, this Beetlejuice is like the essence of that. And when you get to these points, you're like,
when they get called in the back and it's the dude that obviously got ran over by like a truck or something, and he's just like
he's on that like
clothesline, just like going across and making like come on, like it's
was he asked like how's my hair or something like that? Like, there's no mirrors on this side.
It's so funny.
It's so funny, dude. But there are a lot of dark jokes that you typically don't see in modern movies and animation. This is on another level, right? PG rating, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no shit.
Their handler, Luna, the old lady, which I looked it up last night because I was convinced that she was on something like Night Court or something. I thought, but. Anyway, apparently
Sylvia Sidney.
She did a great job, by the way.
Apparently her throat had been slit because she's smoking and like the smoke's like coming out of
I assume it was a tracheotomy, honestly, and she died probably of throat cancer. Like that's what I'm assuming, but
when they're waiting, is that when the guy that's like been burnt to a crisp, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette?
Yeah, he's in the living room, and actually they mentioned that because they sort of address it. So as you're watching it as a viewer,
to quit himself.
Yeah, you're watching like, okay, all these people died in different different ways and what happened to them. And the receptionist actually mentions it because, you know, Barbara and Adam are like, this is horrific. Like, here we are, those dead people. Like, what is going on? And the receptionist is like, this is what happens when that guy dies. This is what happens when you die. This is what happened when they die. So it shows you that, you know, at least in this universe, when you die, it's sort of, and how you die depends on how you end up looking in the afterlife. So you're like, oh, okay. As a viewer, you kind of learn, all right, so there are some sort of rules, even though they're so loose in this film. It's very difficult to nail down, but they do meet Juno, played by Sylvia Sidney, who warns them. She tells them a lot of things about being undead and being a ghost and what they have to do. Evidently, they got to serve like 125 years in that house. Doesn't really say what happens to them after that point, but they're stuck in that house. And you find out also the one main plot point, she's like, don't hire Beetlejuice. Yeah. Like, he used to be my assistant. He's a maniac. Don't do it.
You don't want his help.
You don't want it. You don't want his help at all. And so they are like, they initially take that advice from. Why
is it spelled different
Juno
in the movie, and then on the movie marquee itself?
I can tell you why.
I do know. I just assume that it's for the easiness of
nobody knows how to pronounce the word Beetlejuice as it's spelled. That's the reason. Okay. They changed it specifically for that in the title. And I should have mentioned that earlier before we got started, but that's exactly the reason, is because Beetlejuice, it looks like Beetlejuice.
Yeah, but then, like, why did I just put it as Beetlejuice through the whole? Does that mean something that I'm probably missing?
I mean, that's the way that it's spelled in the film, but not in the title, right?
Right, but I mean, like, does the spelling with the G?
Hand. With an
There's
M.
a D on the end.
Yeah, I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's like the Greek pronunciation. And like, so for instance, there is a Beetlejuice constellation, right? And it's spelled that way. So it's an ancient historical word, right? Beetlejuice. And actually, I don't know what it means. You probably should have looked that up. Multiple extra attempts. The ghost failed to get rid of this annoying ass Dietz family, and they, in desperation, the Maitlands summon Beetlejuice by saying his name 3 times.
We've said it over 3 times. This podcast is fucked.
Yeah, he's out. He's absolutely out right now. And they're transported to the model version of the town where they're forced to dig him up. And Beetlejuice finally makes a full appearance, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what? It's showtime. It is the most charismatic, cartoonish, goofy, cracked out performance I have ever seen. And if I'm wrong, tell me another performance that's more wild than when Beetlejuice appears.
And he's horny, and he's like trying to, like, he's looking up her skirt. Geena Davis.
He's making out with Geena Davis.
This is my favorite scene for a lot of reasons. Where they ask him his qualifications, and he starts like speaking all like proper about going to Juilliard.
Juilliard.
Well, I attended Juilliard. I'm a graduate of the Harvard Business School. I travel quite extensively. I lived through the Black Plague, and I had a pretty good time during that.
And then, like, as he's given his credentials, he gets just like wilder and wilder, and he starts talking about seeing the Exorcist how many hundreds of times.
And it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
He's just insane, dude. He's loud. He's crazy. He's disgusting. He's
asking how good their relationship is. Is there, does he have a chance, or like
it's an open relationship?
Which also the makeup on Beetlejuice was Keaton's idea. I saw an interview with him that he said that since this guy was like, underground or whatever, he wanted some kind of like mold on his face, and like so they kind of incorporated that. That's where like all the green stuff is on him on the makeup. That was Keaton's idea.
It's brilliant.
And to Chris's point a minute ago, one of the funniest things in the whole movie to me is just one tiny little part where he's talking with Adam, but he's reaching behind him, and like he's like lifting up her skirt.
Her skirt.
And you hear her like off screen going, hey, and he goes, what?
Yeah, he's just an absolute freaking sleazebag and a turnoff, and he's trying to convince them to hire him to get rid of these people who they absolutely hate. The Dietz family's just monstrous. They can't.
Shadwick was like 8 years old, and he's like, gonna write that one down.
Here's a guy to model my personality after.
Well, until I don't know, like maybe just 10 years ago, I thought anxious meant horny. So when everybody on social media was complaining about their anxiety, I was like,
"You're like, wow." Chadwick's like, "I'm here for you."
That's what keeps the world going, guys.
Yeah, guys.
A little insight to that scene where the whorehouse appears in the model set that was actually supposedly not in real life, but in plot in the movie, the Juno's idea to just keep him distracted, like because he's just a menace. Because she's like, so when the Maitland family comes to complain about it, she's like, the whorehouse was my idea, just to like get him like out of the picture. But he's totally disgusting. He's an annoyance. He's loud. He's just absolutely gross. So he turns the Maitland family off. They don't want to have anything to do with him initially, and they go to try one last final time to get rid of the Dietz family. And we get the best scene potentially in the movie, or the most meme scene, or the one you'll find probably on the internet, the dinner party scene, where they're singing, the family's being forced to dance to Day-O, the Banana Boat song. And
Chris Berman taught me, daylight come and you gotta Delome. In the early 2000s.
Now,
shout out Jake Delome, sponsor our podcast.
Now I got to say, the first couple times I watched this was actually a point of contention for me. I thought that the dancing and singing part went on a little bit too long. It kind of lost me the first couple times. That scene alone, back then, would be like, that would kind of make me say, yeah, I don't really like that movie that much.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you, but you know what? Now that I watch it again, like, because it did go on too long, but cutting the song off, which ends up being one of the songs that is sunk into the brains of everybody who has ever watched this.
Tim Burton was memeing before memes.
He was memeing,
like, he knew that was going to be, had to know, right? I'm going to stick this song in. And maybe it was a song he liked, and it's just, hey, we're going to stick this in. This is funny to me. But like with you already paid the rights, and which also found out the reason this song is in here is very cheap to get. The rights for this song were very cheap. Yes. And so
I would assume the one at the end was the same thing.
Probably.
Speaking of music, like, you kind of notice that there is, and maybe that's the reason, is, as Chris said, is because the music is cheap, but there's sort of like a calypso-esque Caribbean vibe running through it, because Adam is listening to some, I don't even know what the song is in the very beginning of the movie, but it's very similar to all of this style of music.
Did you guys notice who did the music?
Yeah, that's a guy from Oingo Boingo.
Yeah, Danny Elfman again.
Yeah, the guy that wrote Weird Fucking Science is doing all this crazy. And go back and listen to this. Listen to Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Go listen to, like, Batman. How do you write Weird Science, and then you go write this score that mimics what's going on in reality in a movie or whatever?
She need you in the nuts and called him faggot in front of everybody.
No. She did what?
Weird Science.
Weird Science. Dude, it's an amazing, the score to this movie is insanely cool. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that. But this dinner party scene, I actually, until I watched it this last time, thought that was Beetlejuice.
Yeah, me too.
The way that it's cut. In fact, we use ChatGPT for a lot of my research. ChatGPT also, and I deleted it from the synopsis that I presented you guys. It actually is. ChatGPT thought it so as well. It is not. It is not. And I have evidence. There is a scene after it happens where Beetlejuice is laughing. Now, he is free now because they did say his name 3 times and they escaped, but they didn't say his name 3 times again to basically lock him back up to where he was, right?
Right. So he's out now.
So he's out. And so it's easy to think that he was responsible for like the whole dinner party scene, but he wasn't, because when they come back, we find out it didn't work. Not only did the Dietz family not get scared, they loved it.
But
they
in classic Hollywood sleaze fashion, this dude's like, we can make a buck off this.
Yes.
Hey, you know, this wonder of nature or miracle of life that just happened. Let's make money off of it. Like, thanks Hollywood. Sponsor our podcast.
we have unequivocal proof of life after death. Let's make $1. And so when the Maitlands come back and they're celebrating, they're like, we did it. We finally did something competent. And Lydia comes up there, who she's already befriended them at this point in time in the film. And she's like, it didn't work. They want you to come downstairs and do more scary shit. Like, Beetlejuice busts out laughing. He's like, oh, look at you. Like, you thought you were scary. Like, good job. It's my turn. And he basically tries to murder the Dietz family rather than scare them, because he just goes overboard with everything.
Which is like
Juno
how this movie is paced and spread out. Like, you really don't think about how much screen time Michael Keaton has. I know, like, in some of the reviews, they were like, hey, I read some reviews back in the day that were like, hey, he needs to be on screen way more. But it's a small doses or whatever. On our Patreon one time, we should do a watch along with Beetlejuice with a countdown timer that just starts at 17 minutes every time he's on screen. And then we'll just like count down until
and just click it off immediately when he's off. Because you're right. I mean, does it even? But here's the question: does it count when he is the claymation snake? Remember, like, as he's trying to kill them, he turns in. Does that count as screen time?
Yeah. That's his likeness.
Yeah.
Okay. But just think in that 17 minutes, just think of how much dialogue he gets in.
Oh, dude, he gets 45 minutes, 60 minutes of dialogue,
and it's
17
all puns. It's all puns and one-liners from the get-go. Like, it's insane. Like, what he does.
I'm feeling a little anxious.
So before he can kill the Dietz family.
It's like I say it all the time, huh?
I know. Weird.
So before he can kill the Dietz family, the Maitlands stop him and say his name 3 times. Why that works, we still don't know, but he gets sent. He's sent back. That's just the rules of the movie. He gets yeeted back into his playhouse domain, where he's yet again stuck.
You bunch of losers!
And you do find out early on. They do talk about it, in the civil service area, that I guess if an exorcism happens, like, it ends you, right? Like that, they talk about.
You get thrown into the closet of lost soul.
Yeah.
That's the lost souls room.
This whole closet of lost souls, where so they allude to this exorcism thing beforehand, and now
that's a big plot point.
Now old Fats.
Yes.
Fatty McGee.
Yeah. So because Lydia she's like real emoed out and all this shit, and she's going to like get Beetlejuice, I guess, like, to help, right?
Well, yeah. So what happens is Lydia, for whatever reason, spirals into depression. She decides she's going to unalive herself, writing a note, and before committing this heinous act,
fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice. Yeah, it's really, well, it makes sense at the very end of the movie, in my opinion. I'll argue that.
No. I mean. The fact that you're saying unalived.
Oh yeah.
So
well, YouTube will not allow us to say the word.
So she doesn't realize that it's Beetlejuice that through, was it Otho or was it or the dad who
hell of a back bump, man.
That tries to kill. Yeah, that tries to basically kill her family and friends, and so she
thinks it's the
Maitlands, Adam and Barbara.
Yeah, and when he like falls down and takes a hellacious back bump, there was no Bruno Sammartino to make the save on that. I'm just telling you guys.
And that,
you're welcome, wrestling people. You're welcome. Chris is here.
That landing, the landing down there at the bottom of the stairs always kind of fucked with me, because it's got like that 3D pattern on it.
Yeah,
dude,
it's really. It makes it appear to the cartoon.
Those stunt dudes, again, whoever the stunt dude was in this, great job. Like chin tucked, you roll down, so you just kind of make contact with the side of the stairs all the way down. But that shit still hurts. Hollywood stuntman, dude.
Right.
So Lydia comes out and she
thinks she's been betrayed.
Yeah, to the Maitland. She's like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
So that's what like throws her in her downward spiral.
Right. So she's basically done. Like her only people she was sort of looking up to, the ghosts, were now have betrayed her, and she befriended them up until this point in the movie. We didn't talk a lot about it, but it's in there. They sort of, she can see. She's the only people that can, or one of the only people that can see them at this point in the film, and they kind of form an impromptu friendship. Also, side note: the Maitlands didn't have children. So there's that dynamic as well. They're looking for a kid.
There's a little unspoken part in the beginning where you realize that she can't have children apparently, or they can't have children.
Or they've tried and it's failed because he mentions they're going to try again in the car before they die.
Yeah, that nosy ass neighbor that keeps trying to sell their house out from under them. She's like, "You don't need a place this big. This is for a family." And then she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
And a nosy bitch that lives down the street.
She looks him in the eyes and she's like, "Laces out."
It is her.
Oh, it is her. Oh, it is her.
That's her, dude.
Oh
I don't think that's her. Is it her? I don't know. We're gonna say
if that's her, we're gonna find out. Don't worry, we'll put it in post, or Chris will literally put up "We were wrong" on the screen. So in her desperate form, Beetlejuice reaches out to her, trying to get back out again, and she instantly right before she says his name for the third time, Lydia is interrupted by the Maitlands, who reappear just in time to stop her from saving, and they sort of make up and they explain that Beetlejuice was the one responsible, but she kind of recognizes at that point Beetlejuice is the one when she's talking to him.
Yeah,
she's like, "You're the one that did all that." So, and the Maitlands, fresh back from the underworld, and they're reaming from Juno yet again for their performance as ghosts. Just terrible. They make up and they tell Lydia, listen, like, we want you to stay around. We like you.
Right.
Like Chadwick said, there's that dynamic with where, they can't have kids, or they never could when they were alive. And she actually needs legitimate parents, etc., which I'll go into momentarily. But right when that happens, unabated, the Dietz patriarch and his wife decide that they still want to make a buck off of death. So they hire their family friend and effeminate weirdo Otho to perform an exorcism at the dinner table, and they summon the Maitland ghosts, which puts them in some sort of danger.
Stop it! No.
They're rotting again, sort of unknown why.
It's an exorcism, so it's like, I guess they're gonna rot, and before they go into that closet.
Help me to release this demon!
I have exorcised the demon.
Yes, exactly.
It's clear.
So they're in, So they're in some sort of danger, and in desperation, Lydia finally runs to Beetlejuice for help, because he's the only one that kind of stopped this, because the Maitlands are, the ghosts are being exorcised, and Beetlejuice agrees, but only if she agrees to marry him.
Yep.
And so that he can,
which is,
I guess,
completely on brand in hindsight for Hollywood.
She's underage. He's literally a demon.
He's an old sleazeball, and she's a starlet.
Yeah, and I say this with 100% confidence. Hollywood, don't sponsor our podcast.
Dude, no, we want nothing to do with you.
So when she's talking to him, though, like, she's asking him, like, can you save them? And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, and he's
so great. Like,
have you been Beetlejuice for Halloween yet?
No. What are you doing?
Put that on the list, bro. Your impression,
dude. That needs to go on our Discord channel when you do it. But join our Discord channel, by the way.
Maybe we just do a Beetlejuice watch along with Chadwick as Beetlejuice.
Dude,
showtime.
He just literally, just comments over all of Michael Keaton's lines. That's what everybody wants to see.
Obviously.
You just want me to get tongue tied and fuck everything up.
When we're live, I can't help you, buddy.
There's no editing in real life. So Beetlejuice actually holds up his end of the bargain. He actually
nobody says the B word.
Lydia says the B word 3 times.
Damn, 3 times.
And he is free once again to romp and cause chaos. And again, for his part, he actually holds up his end of the bargain. He stops the exorcism, and then he begins to orchestrate his wedding to collect his prize.
Would you say he's an agent of chaos?
Dude, yes, he is.
He's quite literally that. So he decides to orchestrate his own wedding impromptu.
I do love the editing on this shit. The editing on this is like a dream. You know, like in a dream when shit doesn't make sense, like you just snap.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
Like you just go from scene to scene. Like, so she's like in a wedding dress, like at the drop of a hat. He's in a tuxedo.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's have a fucking kid.
Yeah.
And you just exactly you're absolutely right, because Beetlejuice has these powers, and there's a lot of those quick cuts. Like one of the scenes when you first meet him, like he remember he dresses up as Adam. He's wearing the same outfit, and he's like, "Look, we're the same." And
we're the same, buddy.
Yeah. I love that scene. So yeah, Beetlejuice has these powers where he's able to like quick snap.
But it just seems like a dream. Like when you dream in these like quick cuts. There's
quick zooms.
Yeah, it just
like
when I went back and watched it this time, this is what it felt like. It felt like this wedding scene was just like it was like you're watching a dream. You're like there you are, and you're back in fucking high school, and you don't have any pants on, and people are laughing at you.
Yeah, when you see on the
like, look at why is that even a dick? What can you do with that? And I'm like, why am I here naked? And then they're just like, get out of here. Get out of here! Get out of my sight!
Yeah, it's like when you're watching the news and you see about like this lady Janice that's gone missing. Like what? I mean, I don't care. Like, I don't know Janice. I'm glad it's not somebody that I fucking know. But then after a while, you start really thinking about Janice, and you start having fevered dreams about Janice eating pizza and. Having a hair like that,
but she'd walk into a room, man. You know,
she just light up a room. I mean, she didn't have a fucking candle or anything. It was just through sheer tyranny of will.
This would go on our Discord Norm tributes.
Yes. So, Beetlejuice and the Maitlands have it out in their final battle, and Beetlejuice is summarily defeated, and he's banished back to the afterlife. The ending of the movie, the resolution comes as the Maitlands and the Dietzes agree to live peacefully together, ghost and family. One-on-one, and Lydia, the arguable star of the plot, actually gets a legitimate guardian. Turns out she wasn't depressed all along. She was just horribly neglected by her parents.
And they did have the they do play the jumping line at the end of this, and you see the dead football team, I believe referred to by Norm as "We Were Marshall."
Yes,
you say that joke and then you just cut to jump in the line.
Oh yeah, I believe it. For no reason, the dead ass football team earlier in the film.
Yes, We Were Marshall shows up, and there they are.
There they are performing.
Coach, I don't think we survived the crash.
He's like, no shit. Dancing to Harry Belafonte's "Shake Senora," jump in the line.
Again, another one that I think was pretty cheap to license, which was pretty smart. I mean, like, because these are iconic songs back then. I mean, they're iconic,
dude.
I say they're iconic. People knew these songs.
I think this movie made those songs iconic.
They did, but people already knew them before. Like they may have not been like top 40 hits
in smaller cultures.
I didn't know the songs before this. Of course, we were what, 9, 10 years old. But
Yeah, everyone rides a bike when they're fucking 6.
But I think that's pretty smart because it goes hand in hand. So then it gets like, because they said Deo became like a top 40 hit again, like after this. Like, and it's probably the same thing with Jumping Line. I'm sure that jumped up in charts because this movie was so big.
It's still a banger, dude. Those are amazing songs, and and it sort of resurrect that. So that back to the soundtrack. That was just at the end. It leaves you as much of the dark comedy and dealing with death and all types of these dark topics, right? And there's a lot of darkness in there and weirdness, especially some of the lines from Beatles.
Tones.
He'll kill the owner, but at least the dogs are happy.
They're just not. You really are left with that family friendly feeling at the end of the movie.
Yeah, you are.
As this plays,
like,
you feel
Beetlejuice
good,
gets
dude.
his his comeuppance where he gets his head shrunk after he tries to steal the ticket off the head shrinker guy.
Yeah, at the very end, Beetlejuice, of course, like being already dead, can't be killed. So he's in his waiting room.
He tries to swap numbers with Papa Shango from WWF, and then Papa Shango shrinks his head.
He's getting sick. He's making him sick.
Oh, looks like I'm next.
Yep.
Just an all-around excellent film as we wrap it up.
As we wrap it up, man. So I guess if you had to pick your favorite scene in this movie, I think that my favorite scene is probably going to be the classic Deo scene. Like, I just think that as an adult, I think I see all the angles of that. I see why it's again, like we were talking about Catherine O'Hara with her facial expressions, the way that she is complicit with it, but then also fighting it with her eyes, where she's singing it with all this like vigor and everything. And then she's like, oh shit, what am I doing? Like, in between spots. I thought that's just genius.
It was good. It was really, really,
Leaf,
really
what's
good.
your favorite scene? Is it still
my favorite? It's still where Beetlejuice is yet to be introduced. And this is hindsight, clearly. Like the first time I seen it, I had multiple like favorite scenes and going into the future. But now rewatching it again, knowing how epic that Michael Keaton's performance is in this film, seeing just the first, because he says a lot of things so quickly, and both of y'all mentioned it, that you kind of miss it. And there's some really, really, really good gems. I dare say, even though Chris will cringe if I mention this, watch it with the subtitles so that you can see some of the lines that you're missing.
Right. You are.
Like, he is a comedic.
Fuck subtitles.
He's a comedic genius. So the scene where he's reading the newspaper at the very beginning before you get introduced to him makes me laugh so hard because I know what's about to happen. I know the character, and he's just already an asshole, like getting shots in on people and a shyster. And it's just, his character is deliciously horrible, and I can't get enough of it. That's my favorite scene.
So before I say my favorite scene, I want to point out one little thing that was disturbing to me. It's where the fly lands on the model.
Dude, you sent us that earlier this week.
Yes. So he's got the Zagnut bar like sticking up.
He lures the fly in.
Hey, you hungry?
You hungry?
I got something good for you. Yeah. But I think it's when the fly is screaming, "Help me!" I think it's. I don't know. It kind of fucked with me for some reason, like as a kid.
Yeah,
but yeah, my favorite scene though is when they have their first official meeting with Beetlejuice in the model. Well, I can't even remember now. Like they ask him a question, and like he takes offense to it or whatever. He turns his head. He's doing the jack off, like
the jack off motion.
Yeah.
Is that like they ask like if he can, like maybe his qualifications or if he can scare them or whatever, and he turns around with that fucking classic shot of like the snakes going on the side. But yeah, that's great. The jack off. I noticed the jack off. He says "fuck" shortly after that. Like nice fucking whatever.
PG rating, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice fucking model.
It kicks a tree down,
and there's a shit in there at some point.
And he does the little.
He grabs his nuts and dick and just like at them, like just dude. That scene, that Shadwick is the quintessential Beetlejuice scene.
He's not playing with it. Why not let him? Shit, baby.
So with that, I think we all unanimously 3 thumbs up across the board, man. And also, when, like I said, when the new Beetlejuice comes out, man, we're all going to go watch it in theaters. Come back here. We'll do our verses. Take some notes. That's a lie. We're going to get drunk and just try to go from memory. Use ChatGPT. You know, whatever. That's what we do, man. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and lead us over to our Norm Macdonald clip of the week.
I can't wait to see what you picked.
Let's say you had an exact twin. Now, Mary Willard, your wife.
Oh, here we go.
There could be a lot of... Wouldn't you go like, how do you not find him attractive? Do you know what I mean? That's true. He looks exactly like me. Yeah. And he's much better at sucking and fucking. No.